Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, Chapter 6, Episode 2, Protagonist, Part 1. The subway stopped around halfway past Donghua Bridge. Oh my god! Several survivors stood up and looked at the scene taking place outside. The ruined Seoul and collapsed buildings. Monsters reminiscent of a giant snake were eating the wreckage of a fighter jet that had crashed into the Han River.
What the hell?
I recognized its identity at once. An ichthyosaur, a monster that was commonly called a sea serpent. It would later be classified as a grade 7 monster in the world of ways of survival. And one of the ichthyosaurs looked in this direction.
It's coming!
People screamed with fright, but I just looked apathetically at the approaching ichthyosaur. These guys couldn't be a threat.
Ka-da-dong!
The ichthyosaur circled around the bottom of the Donghua Bridge and vanished into an air bubble. In the world of ways of survival, scenarios took procedure over anything else. As long as we were protected by the scenario, we wouldn't have to deal with such monsters straight away. At least, for now.
Compensation settlement is delayed due to an unexpected scenario check. Please wait.
The compensation settlement should have started right now, but only an error message floated in the air. It was probably due to me. I looked down at Kim Nam-woon's body, which had only had the torso remaining. According to the original ways of survival, Kim Nam-woon killed most of the people in this carriage and moved on to the next scenario. But I stopped it. If my thoughts were right, those who would be angry at Kim Nam-woon's death would appear. Here? Not here. They were in the sky above.
Due to the death of character Kim Nam-woon, 2 constellations show a faint hostility to you.
Constellations. They were mysterious beings in ways of survival. They sat watching from the distant nebulas and were the masterminds of this tragedy. Once the constellation's preferences sign appeared, I realized that it was now starting in earnest. It was funny. A day ago, our positions were opposite, and now they were the ones watching me.
A handful of constellations admire your scenario. The constellations have sponsored you 500 coins.
If there were some constellations who disliked me, there would also be some who liked me. Either way, it was an uncomfortable situation. However, I couldn't do anything about them right now. It was my turn to be a clown. I picked up Kim Nam-woon's Swiss knife on the ground and thought, feel free to watch. You'll end up paying the admission fee with your lives.
Dokja, are you okay?
I looked up and saw Yu Sung-a's face. Her shoulders were sagging, blood covered her white brows, and there was a run in her stockings. There was no more of the Yu Sung-a I knew. I held Yu Sung-a's hand and said, I'm sorry. I couldn't save the grandmother. I looked down at the body of the grandmother, missing its head. I didn't know the name of the grandmother, and in the future, many people would die in this matter. Yu Sung-a looked at me with a complicated gaze.
How is Dokja so...
Yeah?
It's nothing. Rather, thank you.
What do you mean?
That
I belatedly thought back to the previous scene. I'd thrown the net in Yu Sung-a's direction. I knew what she was thinking. It was just a coincidence. It won't happen twice. Yu Sung-a nodded silently. She didn't know the truth, but she was smart. She knew what I meant. Someone lived because of my choice, and someone else died. No matter who survived, I didn't deserve a thank you.
Wow, amazing!
The Dokja appeared in the air.
What on earth happened here? I was just watching the other carriages.
There was a mixture of delight and surprise on the Dokja's face. Twinkling stars floated over the Dokja's head. I counted the number of stars. 1, 2, 3, 20, 21. 21 in total. Yeah, he would be happy.
For 21 people to be connected to my channel,
Isn't this quite good? Gosh, thank you for your sponsorship, Constellations. Everyone, did you properly show off your value?
The number of stars meant the number of constellations connected to the channel. 21 wasn't a lot, but it was a strange number for a beginner Dokja.
The number of survivors is quite high. Oh, the fellow in the next carriage was a nutter as well. Oh, it seems that things are quite interesting today.
The Dokja manipulated something in the air. A moment later, a list of survivors came up.
Survivors from the 3434 train to Bulguang, carriage 3807. Kim Dokja, Lee Hyun-sung, Yu Sung-ah, Han Meng-yo, and Lee Gil-young. A total of 5 survivors.
5 people. More people than I thought survived. I looked at the face of the survivors one by one. Lee Hyun-sung had a good physique and excellent motor skills, so it was expected that he would survive. I even expected Yu Sung-ah to a certain extent. In addition, Lee Gil-young, if my guess was right, Lee Gil-young was the name of the boy standing next to me. The fluids from the crushed grasshopper were still on the boy's hands. It was the grasshopper I had squeezed. The boy was looking at his mother, who'd lost her head. The boy's mother had abandoned him to join in on the killing the grandmother, and the boy had just watched the whole thing from beginning to end. I hesitated for a moment before touching the boy's shoulder. It wasn't foolish sympathy, per se, but to put it simple, this was... Yeah, that's right. Hypocrisy. Kid. The boy slowly turned his head, and in his eyes, I could see the fear of death that he encountered for the first time in his life. Unavoidable instincts. The boy wasn't grieving his mother's death. He was just afraid of his own. And it was natural. He was human. Do you want to live? The boy's eyes shook anxiously. His body trembled with a force that couldn't be resisted. Then, little by little, the boy's head moved. Then let's go together, yeah? Lee Gil-young moved slowly and came close to my legs. Yu Sung-ah was watching me with an impressed expression. I unintentionally caused another misunderstanding. In fact, it was meant to be seen. The target wasn't Yu Sung-ah.
A few constellations are impressed with your good deed. The constellations have sponsored you 200 coins.
I couldn't help but thinking it was a low move, but I also wanted to live. Given the upcoming major events, it was essential to draw the attention of the constellations right now.
Will you release us now? Didn't you get what you wanted?
Han Meng-yo in a torn shirt shouted from a half-dozen steps away. Department head Han Meng-yo. He was a lucky guy. But I couldn't help wondering, why was Han Meng-yo riding the subway when he had so much money? This was the man who had shown off his new S-Class Mercedes-Benz not long ago.
Huh? Released? Haven't you seen outside? You really want to go out there?
The Dokja chuckled.
It is somehow admirable. In fact, I didn't expect much from this carriage, but you managed to pass the first scenario. Ah, this proves that bugs deserve to survive.
His words made us realize our position. Maybe we were like grasshoppers in his eyes.
Now, shouldn't there be a reward for overcoming the hardships? As a reward for the first scenario, you're entitled to the sponsorship of the constellations. How about it? Aren't you looking forward to it? Oh, you're all unenthusiastic. This is a really big deal.
The reaction was natural. I was the only one here who knew what a constellation or a sponsorship was. The sponsorship of the constellations. The meaning was obvious. One of the key events in Ways of Survival. Sponsor selection was about to begin.
Everyone has such confused expressions. Well, I can easily tell you. Right now, you are incredibly weak. If you are thrown into the scenarios that will take place, you'll be killed when you meet a weak ground rat, let alone a croc. But kindly, there are some great people in the universe who pity you and would like to sponsor you. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Lee Hyun-sung finally couldn't stand it anymore and opened his mouth. What are you saying? Who is sponsoring Hyun?
My words are just entering dirty ears. Isn't there an old saying in South Korea? It's better to see it once than listen 100 times, so experience it directly. Well, the less fortunate ones might not get the chance.
I was tense. From now on, a good choice here would make my survival in the future easier.
Dokja, see? Two strange choices suddenly appeared in front of me.
I don't know even if you asked me. This was naturally a lie to avoid suspicions. By the way, there were two choices. Yu Sung-ah was quite lucky. Do it comfortably. Think of it as an aptitude test.
An aptitude test?
I mean, nobody knows what the situation is anyway. Why not do it comfortably?
I understand.
Yu Sung-ah closed her mouth and started staring into space. It was a profound expression, as if she'd encountered something curious. The others suddenly became silent. Everyone was reading the options in front of them. I also had my own choice to look at. Sponsor selection. Please select your sponsor. Your chosen sponsor will be your strong supporter. Options: Abyssal Black Flame Dragon, Demon-like Judge of Fire, Secretive Plotter, Prisoner of the Golden Headband. There were 4 choices like a riddle. It meant there were 4 constellations that wanted to turn me into their incarnation. 4 choices wasn't small, considering that the protagonist of Ways of Survival received 5 options the first time. The constellations never revealed their true name. Therefore, all contractors must infer the identity of the constellations by words such as abyssal, demonic, and garden. Of course, this puzzle was nothing to me, the sole reader of Ways of Survival. Let's see. First, the Abyssal Black Flame Dragon. According to my memory, this constellation was a powerful entity that led the group of constellations called the Black Cloud. I forgot his name, but I remember it was a very long one. The advantage of this constellation was that the contractor would receive a very strong attack power. In the early days, when stamina and strength were in urgent need, there was no constellation as strong as the Abyssal Dark Flame Dragon. Of course, that was limited to the beginning. As the power of this constellation was more frequently used, the mind became corrupted and the contractor would become a mad murderer. This constellation usually sponsored the people with the Chuni attribute, so I didn't know why the constellation picked me. I felt uncomfortable and immediately excluded this guy. The second one, the demon-like Judge of Fire. I can't believe I was actually seeing this option. Somehow, the strong emotions I felt were enormous. At first glance, the name was overflowing with evil, but this was actually a trap for the wicked. The demon-like actually meant not a demon. Then the words fire and judge were added. A being who wasn't a demon and who made judgments through fire. Paradoxically, the master of this constellation was an angel. And if I recalled correctly, it was the Archangel Uriel. In fact, I remember this because someone in the novel picked this constellation as a sponsor. It was a pretty decent choice. This was pending. The constellations of absolute good imposed ridiculous constraints if you wanted to use their enormous power, though. The third, Secretive Plotter. It was the first time that I, the sole reader of Ways of Survival, had seen this choice at all. This name might have been mentioned in passing, but I didn't know it right now. If I could read Ways of Survival more thoroughly, then I might get a feel of the constellation. But I was certain that the owner of this constellation wasn't a very strong entity. Apart from the obvious modifier, there wasn't one proper noun. Secretive Plotter. It was too simple for a constellation. This one was also pending. And finally, there was Prisoner of the Golden Headband. My heart jumped the moment I saw the fourth option. I didn't expect this constellation so early. I've doubted my eyes several times. But it was unmistakably Prisoner of the Golden Headband. At first glance, this name gave off a negative image due to the word prisoner, but you had to pay attention to Golden Headband. Golden Headband, the smallest prison in the world. It was a hint that anyone would recognize if they enjoyed reading Journey to the West as a child. There was only one prisoner who was held captive by the Golden Headband in the journey from the east to the west. The master of the mountain of flowers and fruit, who lived in suffering due to the shackle on his head. The handsome monkey king with the golden gaze, fiery eyes. The great sage, the equal of heaven, Sun Wukong. Among the characters that appeared in the novel, there was one supported by Sun Wukong. A wondrous power that could sweep through hundreds of incarnations and kill thoughts with one lightning strike. The author had described this part with a lot of energy, so my memory of it was clear. I didn't know why such a powerful constellation was showing me interest, but if I became the incarnation of the great stage, the equal of heaven, I would be able to survive in this new world more easily than anyone else. But I quickly looked at the door connected to the carriage in front. Beyond that door, he was looking at the selection screen, just like me. If I choose the great sage, the equal of heaven, could I win against him?
There is 1 minute left to complete the sponsor selection.
Time was running out. I breathed lightly and looked through my options. My worries didn't last long. Chapter 7. Episode 2, Protagonist, Part 2.
Sponsor selection has ended.
I took a deep breath as I watched the messages floating in the air.
Some constellations are greatly affected by your choice.
Yeah, it was starting now.
The constellation Abyssal Black Flame Dragon is greatly displeased at your choice. The constellations belonging to Black Cloud are shaken by the anger of the Abyssal Black Flame Dragon. You won't be sponsored by any of the Black Cloud constellations for a while.
I wasn't surprised because it was an expected message. To make every member of his group turn away because he was rejected. Yeah, it seemed like this guy was Kim Nam-woon's sponsor in the original work. As expected of the incarnation of the constellation.
The constellation, demon-like Judge of Fire, is disappointed in you. She will persistently monitor your justice in the future.
In the case of Archangel Uriel, it was just disappointment. In the first place, the constellations of absolute good would rarely hate someone unless they committed a great injustice.
The constellation, Secretive Plotter, is interested in your choice. 200 coins have been sponsored.
The Secretive Plotter's case was unexpected. Given the characteristics of the name, maybe he valued my caution.
The constellation, Prisoner of the Golden Headband, is interested in your choice.
And the great sage, the equal of heaven? I was concerned. Did I make the right choice? I didn't know. Maybe I'd lost the tremendous opportunity right in front of me.
You haven't selected a sponsor.
But choosing a certain constellation meant being limited by that possibility. The sponsor contract was never a fair deal. I would survive, but I wouldn't survive by being their toys. And if my expectations were right, there was a way to become strong without a constellation. Maybe it was a way to become stronger than the incarnation of the strongest sponsor.
Oh, is this true? Oh, isn't there one interesting choice? Oh, yeah? There will be another chance.
The Dokja's crescent moon eyes stayed on me for a moment.
Now, everyone has finished the selection. Rest here for a while. I'll have to go prepare the next scenario. I'll see you in 10 minutes.
After the sponsor selection finished, the Dokja disappeared. He told us to rest, but these 10 minutes were really crucial. In 10 minutes, I needed to sort out this situation and prepare for the following scenarios. I tried to recall my abilities in my head. Character list and Omniscient reader's viewpoint. I didn't know the precise use yet, but I had a general sense of these skills. This will work, somehow. Let's all gather together. The survivors gathered at my words. The first one to reach out a hand was Lee Hyun-sung. Hello, I'm Lee Hyun-sung.
Kim Dokja.
Nice to meet you, although I don't know if these words suit the situation. As I said earlier, I am a soldier. Well, I should say that I was a soldier.
You can't contact your unit?
Yeah.
The grip around my hand was considerable, as expected from the tanker that appeared in the early stages of Ways of Survival.
I must take Lee Hyun-sung with me.
He might not look like much now, but Lee Hyun-sung was an increasingly important figure in the latter parts of Ways of Survival. Dr. C. Yeah? I wanted to thank you. If it wasn't for Dr. C, we'd all be dead.
No, that isn't the case.
Even if I had lived, I wouldn't have been able to live as a person. Thank you very much.
And I am ashamed.
Lee Hyun-sung bowed deeply. My mind was a bit complicated. In fact, Lee Hyun-sung would have survived even if I didn't do anything. Then somebody grabbed my shoulder.
Well, our contractor did one big thing, Dr. C. Do you know my name?
I could tell who it was without looking back. I took the hand off my shoulder and said, I know Han-Mung-Yo-si.
Huh? Han-Mung-Yo-si? Shouldn't you call me department head?
Han-Mung-Yo was still trying to use his position in this situation. He really was the king of authoritarianism and Minosoft. This isn't a company.
No. Oh, look at this. Are you planning to not go work now? Where did you learn your basic etiquette?
Once I saw Han-Mung-Yo's angry face, I once again realized that the world I knew was over. The man in front of me was a predator of the world before the scenario began, and I was merely a prey to that predator. It was certainly like that.
No matter how I think about it, your actions were too much. Yeah? If you had the insects, then you should have tipped me off. Why would you throw them like that? Dr. Z, you've been good to me. How much time do you have left on your contract?
All of a sudden, it became ridiculous. In the world I'd lived in, I was too weak. Han-Mung-Yo-si?
Eh?
Shut up.
What?
You still don't understand the situation? Weren't you hit by that bastard earlier?
Minosoft? Do you think the company still exists when the end has come?
Han-Mung-Yo's face was white and stricken. I turned my eyes towards the other people. Since I was already saying it, I should make it stick.
Han-Mung-Yo-si isn't the only problem. Everyone, you need to wake up. As the Dokja said, this isn't a joke. I think you should have all roughly noticed the situation. Exclusive skills in the attribute window? A game-like interface? Is there anyone who still hasn't caught on to facts?
Indeed, no one raised their hand. South Korea was easy. Due to the high penetration rate of smartphones, there wasn't one person who hadn't played an RPG game. Even if they didn't play a game, they would have read a fantasy novel at least once. Lee Hyun-sung sighed. This is like a novel I was reading while standing on duty, but I can still feel it. This really isn't a dream. This is reality. My stern answer caused Lee Hyun-sung's eyes to slightly change.
The character, Lee Hyun-sung, feels a faint trust in you. Your understanding of the character, Lee Hyun-sung, has increased.
Lee Hyun-sung nodded. It's good that you're certain. And what do we do now? Dr. C, do you have an opinion? We have to go, I answered without hesitation.
Go? Are you insane?
Dr. C, I don't think...
This time Yu Sung-ah joined in. It seemed everyone still hadn't woken up.
Then how long will we stay here?
In fact, my argument didn't make much sense.
Outside was a haven of monsters. But I knew, right now, we have to get out of here.
Have you thought about your parents? Do you think your parents are safe in this mess?
The lion has been dead for some time. No cacao talk.
Yu Sung-ah cried out desperately. Indeed, Confucianism was still strong in South Korea. Even Lee Hyun-sung and Han Mung-yeol's expressions darkened at the word parents. I grasped Lee Gil-yong's shoulders, whose head was bowed. The first person to get up was Yu Sung-ah.
Go.
I will go out. No! Did you hear what that thing said? Take a break here. If we move, then our heads might explode.
Then let's take a majority vote.
Yu Sung-ah raised her hand first, followed by me and Lee Gil-young. But it was up to there. I have to go to my base, but it seems dangerous to move in this situation. There was also the warning.
Well, shit, you all go by yourselves. I'm not going outside.
I didn't care about Han Mung-yeol, but the problem was Lee Hyun-sung. I had to take Lee Hyun-sung with me no matter what. Quang! The thick iron plate made a loud sound. The iron door to carriage 3707 was slightly distorted.
What?
Han Mung-yeol's cry was ignored as the iron door made a deafening sound again.
Quang!
Someone was trying to break the door from beyond it. This was an unexpected situation, so I had to think. Oh, alright, was it the next scenario? No, the Dokja hadn't come back yet. Then, my brain moves quickly. Small hand stood up as a short shiver struck my body. That guy.
What? Everybody stop it!
Han Mung-yeol shouted and moved towards the door. Lee Hyun-sung moved towards it as well, but I stopped him. You can't stop it. Huh? We have to go. I looked at the iron door with heavy eyes. But if we don't go now? The only survivor of carriage 3707. I was well aware of who was beyond the iron door.
We will all die before the next scenario arrives.
Yeah. That guy was finally coming. The real protagonist of this story. Chapter 8, Episode 2, Protagonist, Part 3. I stared straight into Lee Hyun-sung and Han Mung-yeol's eyes and said,
Do you want a guy from that guy beyond the iron door, or do you want to try your luck outside the train? Which one will you choose?
Dokja, is there any guarantee that the person beyond the iron door is an enemy? The steel sword appeared at the crucial moment. There was a reason why Lee Hyun-sung couldn't be a leader of a party. Since they're coming from another carriage, it's likely to be a survivor. If we meet... I looked at the bloody room instead of continuing. Lee Hyun-sung followed my gaze and quietly spoke. I was too careless. Let's find a way out.
Go quickly!
At this moment, both people were aware. The other survivors of the carriage would have gone through the same thing as them, and they wouldn't have had the good luck of finding insects.
This is broken! Damn it, we can't go this way!
While listening to Lee Hyun-sung and Han Mung-yeol's cries, I also checked the doors. There was no more barriers, so the doors could now be touched. Apart from the doors connecting the passageways, there were a total of 8 access doors on the subway. There were 3 exits that hadn't been confirmed yet. Kong! The iron door seemed like it could barely hold on for 1 minute. Despite being the main character, I didn't think he would have such high strength in the beginning. I was honestly surprised that he could break such a thick iron door. Dokja, here! I found a working manual switch. No! The opening and closing device worked smoothly, but the doors didn't open at once. They opened around the 5th. The door opened around 1/5 before stopping like it was jammed. The door opened around 1/5 before stopping like it was jammed. It seems to be broken here as well. How about the other places?
This seems to be the only place where we can escape.
It was unknown for a child, but the gap was too narrow for the men and women to escape. Han Ming-yo and Lee Hyun-sung tried to pull the doors open, but they didn't move a bit.
Coins possessed. 4,700 C.
One of the uses of the coins was to raise overall stats. I'd already used 2,700 coins to make my stamina level 10. This problem could be resolved if I used the remaining coins to enhance my strength, but it wasn't wise to use the coins when the situation was unknown. In the end, there was only one way.
Lee Hyun-sung, see? Use a skill.
Huh? A skill? I quietly activated character list.
The exclusive skill, character list, is activated. Character information. Name, Lee Hyun-sung. Age, 28 years old. Constellation sponsor, Master of Steel. Private attribute, soldier who turned a blind eye to injustice. General. Exclusive skills, bayonet skills, level 2. Camouflage, level 2. Patience, level 2. Stigma, Great Mountain Push, level 1. Overall stats, stamina level 8, strength level 8, agility level 7, magic power level 5. Overall evaluation. The overall stats are very good. Despite turning away from injustice, he received the choice of a constellation. This is another opportunity for him.
Lee Hyun-sung's information came to my mind without any restrictions. Fortunately, the sponsor was the same as what I had read in Ways of Survival.
You should have checked it when you opened the attributes window. Lee Hyun-sung is a soldier, so there must be a skill you can use in this situation.
Well, I have one, but how do I use it?
Just think about using the skill. Will that work? It will. I did it earlier.
Lee Hyun-sung didn't say anything else as he took a deep breath of determination. Lee Hyun-sung's biceps swelled as he grabbed the door. It was the appearance of Great Mountain Push. In fact, Great Mountain Push wasn't a skill, but a stigma. And a stigma was a power from the constellation. I used the word skill in order to avoid suspicions. There was a sound like a huge spring turning, and the door started to move.
Oh, that guy has real strength. That's it. It's really great.
The character, Lee Hyun-sung, has started to trust you. Your understanding of the character, Lee Hyun-sung, has increased.
Rather than doubts, my reliability had risen. Lee Hyun-sung was a simpler person than I'd thought. Come on, get off! But I felt relieved. I handed Lee Gil-young to Lee Hyun-sung.
Lee Hyun-sung, see, carry the child on your back.
I understand. Now, the iron door was almost broken. But if my prediction was right, the problem right now wasn't that iron door.
This is really... I knew this would happen. Didn't I see it earlier? I told you not to go anywhere. Damn, the scenario isn't ready yet.
The Dokja seemed to be angry as it floated over to Dongho Bridge. I knew this would happen. I told you not to come out. Han Ming-yo wrapped a hand around his head like he thought it would explode. There was no need to worry.
I can't be helped. You were really lucky humans.
It was because the second scenario started the moment the train door was open.
The second scenario has arrived.
Second scenario. Escape. Category, sub. Difficulty, E. Clear conditions. Cross the broken bridge and enter Oksu Station. Time limit, 20 minutes. Compensation, 200 coins. Failure. Question mark. Unknown.
Doctor, see, something strange. It says the broken bridge, but the bridge is still... Don't worry and just run, quickly. Understood. In fact, Yu Sung-ah was right. The bridge hadn't broken yet. In other words, the bridge was going to be broken. Dr. C, come quickly! I'm coming! It hadn't been broken yet because we got off the train too soon. The Dokja said the preparation time was 10 minutes, but we escaped 3 minutes earlier. Some people might call it cowardly, but this scenario couldn't be cleared without such a shortcut, especially if I was stuck with burdens such as Yu Sung-ah and Lee Gil-young. Indeed, Lee Seung-sangzi is a soldier and has high stamina. Don't open your mouth, you'll lose strength. Lee Hyun-sung was running first with the kid. He was a natural monster who didn't invest any coins in his stats, yet the sum of his strength, stamina, and agility exceeded 23. The next one was Han Mung-yo, and then Yu Sung-ah with me in the rear. It would be close, but I thought we could make it in time.
Oh, what is that?
At this time, Han Ming-yo's scream was heard. There was a huge whirlpool in the center of Han River, letting out splashes of water. And a giant monster was the center of the splashes. An ichthyosaur. The problem was that the ichthyosaur seemed to be twice the size of the one I saw through the windows. This wasn't a sea serpent. It was a sea commander. A general sea serpent was only a grade 7 monster. Given that a grade 9 monstrous land rate was difficult for normal humans to cope with, an average human would be torn apart by a grade 7 monster. In other words, the guy coming now wasn't a monster that could be caught in the early stages. Of course, there was no need to catch it. It wasn't created to be caught. The Han River surged like there was a tsunami, and the ichthyosaur moved. It was chewing on the legs of the bridge.
The bridge is breaking! Run! If we run, we can cross it!
The remaining distance was around 200 meters. If my calculations were correct, we could cross the bridge before it collapsed at our current speed.
Oh, this is no fun if the game is too easy.
Of course. This was a story where there were no variables.
The scenario has been adjusted.
Scenario difficulty E to D. The sound of the Dokjaevi's laughter was heard.
Is there any fun if you just run away? Let's create a bit of atmosphere. The evil thoughts of the dead have returned. The surrounding earth is filled with black ether, and the demonic people have woken up.
There was the sound of something chasing us from behind, and Yu Sung-ha muttered to herself, "Zombies!" Zombie-like bodies were coming in huge waves. Some of them were people from the same carriage as us. "We need to go a little further, quickly!" The distance to the ichthyosaur was now less than 100 meters. Fortunately, Lee Hyun-sung carried Lee Gil-young and had crossed the safety line. The problem was the rest of us, including me. Han Ming-yo shrieked,
You bastards!
There were too many demonic people. If there were only corpses from the subway, we might have gotten away. The problem was... The drivers who died on the bridge became demonic people. The path that Lee Hyun-sung broke through was covered with demonic people, and I looked between the demonic people on the road and the approaching ichthyosaur. "Everybody, get down." It was too late. Quang! The legs of the bridge shook tremendously as the ichthyosaur's huge mouth bit it. The scales of the ichthyosaur shone through the dust that poured down onto Han River like rain. The fishy smell of blood and water filled the area. I staggered and raised my body. Once the dust went away, the scenario around me was clear. Piles of shattered concrete and cut steel, the carcasses of the demonic people which the ichthyosaur had cleanly bitten through, and the broken leg of the bridge.
Okay.
One of Han Ming-yo's legs seemed injured and uncomfortable from the previous quake. Lee Hyun-sung and Lee Gil-young cried out from across the bridge, but their voices seemed blocked by the safety zone. What should I do? I made plans on the basis of the bridge breaking, but I hadn't expected Han Ming-yo and Yu Sung-ha to still be with me. At that moment, a voice was heard in the air.
Someone has received the favor of a constellation. The constellation scenario, Deus Ex Machina, has been activated.
Along with the voice, a brilliant bright mane of light was created among the remnants of the broken Donghong Bridge, and then a message floated in front of me.
Deus Ex Machina, even bridge. Description: a bridge made of light by a constellation. Only an even number of people can cross the bridge. The bridge will disappear as soon as an odd number of people tried to cross it.
Dokja, see, this in my head, suddenly... I met the eyes of Yu Sung-ah, who was talking nonsense. I could roughly guess the situation. Deus Ex Machina. Constellations risked a huge loss by intervening in scenarios. It's Yu Sung-ah's sponsor. I didn't know what constellation it was, but somebody had chosen Yu Sung-ah as their incarnation and wanted her to live. Deus Ex Machina was a rare phenomenon in ways of survival, and Yu Sung-ah was a person who should have already died. I had a moment of doubt. What kind of constellation was behind Yu Sung-ah?
The information of this person can't be read in character list. This person isn't registered in character list.
I was a bit surprised. I couldn't see her with my skill? Why? Did she have a special background? Or did she have a mental barrier? But if she'd had something like that from the beginning... No. Wait a minute. Perhaps this was...
Dokja, see, what do we do now?
I heard Yu Sung-ah's bewildered voice. I didn't have much time to think. The Han River was swirling. The ichthyosaur had eaten one bridge leg and was turning its huge body around on the other side of Han River. I bit my lips and once again read the explanation of the bridge. Only an even number of people could cross this bridge. In the end, Deus Ex Machina was a toy made by the damn constellations who loved tragedies. There was no way for everyone to survive. Han Meng-yo's body was shaking as his eyes met mine. Because in the end, somebody must die. Chapter 9, Episode 2, Protagonist, Part 4. At this moment, Yu Sung-ah shouted,
Dokja, see, behind you!
I reflectively leaned forward as a bloody fist came flying through the air. It was a familiar fist covered with energy. I felt something falling towards me and instinctively kicked out. I didn't need to look back to know what was behind me. A grade 9 human-type demonic person. Human mutants infected with black ether. That's why demonic people were classified as a high-risk species, despite being grade 9. Demonic people made from a normal human base were no different from zombies, but it was particularly dangerous if their hosts were different. I saw the badge of the school student with a damaged head. Kim Na-woon. The guy whose head burst a few minutes ago was now aiming for me as a demonic person. Kim Na-moon's vocal cords that burst out were in a bizarre shape.
Exclusive skill, Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, Level 1 has been activated. This person doesn't have any consciousness. The skill Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint will be cancelled.
Damn, it was expected. My thigh was scratched by Kim Na-moon's overgrown black fingernails. A pain that felt like a burn spread through my leg. The skin, which hadn't been cut by a knife, was now torn by fingernails. This was the main reason why demonic people were dangerous. The demonic people became several times stronger than when they were human.
Yu Sung-ah, see, immediately!
I felt something as I spoke, and without looking back, I could see what was going on. Han Meng-yo, who had just been limping, was carrying Yu Sung-ah over one shoulder and moving across the bridge at an astonishing rate.
The constellation Secretive Plotter admires how easy you are to fool. The constellation Demon-like Judge of Fire is impressed with your sacrifice. 100 coins have been sponsored.
Indeed. Planning to leave me? By the way he was running was a little strange. Despite being on one leg, he was running as fast as an Olympic athlete. This couldn't be the exclusive skill of Han Meng-yo, who had a big belly. Therefore, it must be the stigma of his sponsor. The one-legged swift horse. And I already knew the constellation who provided that stigma. I used character list on the distant Han Meng-yo.
The information of this person can't be read in character list.
Once again, character list didn't work properly.
I remember correctly, the stigma of one-legged swift horse came from the constellation Lame Trickster. Lame Trickster didn't give any stigmas in the mental barrier system. In addition, Han-Meng-Yo couldn't possess such a skill from the beginning. In other words, my skill failed not because of Han-Meng-Yo's ability. Oh, I was stupid. I looked at the message window floating in front of me and laughed.
This person isn't registered in character list.
I was thinking too hard, and when it meant literally that. Character list literally read the information of characters. Yu Sung-ah and Han Meng-Yo were characters who didn't originally appear in Ways of Destruction. They were people who would have died if I hadn't saved them. It was natural that I couldn't confirm their information with character list. On the other side, the incoming Kim Nam-woon and demonic people were jabbering nonsense at me. And on the other side, Han Meng-Yo had already halfway crossed the bridge. Lee Hyun-sung and Lee Gul-young had already entered the safety zone across the bridge, so I couldn't ask for help from them either. This was truly a predicament. I couldn't cross the bridge alone. My brain moved quickly. Should I capture one of the demonic people and cross the bridge? I mean, it was worth trying, but the success rate was low. Unlike the name, the demonic people were categorized as non-human, meaning they likely didn't count as a person. Several demonic people lost their balance and fell down the bridge. The fallen demonic people became the food of the ichthyosaurs. Like piranhas, the ichthyosaurs broke the demonic people into dozens of pieces in an instant. Distant fear came flooding back in. If the number of people on the bridge became odd for even a moment, I'd be like them. Oh, it was impossible to cross alone. Then, let's take it slow, I muttered as I attempted to control myself. Right now, I needed to remain calm. There were still a few unusable methods, but the important thing was to handle matters in front of me. I controlled my breathing and walked to the demonic people. Fortunately, it wasn't difficult to make the fall down the bridge using inertia. I reduced the numbers by making them fall steadily. The Dokja stopwatch floating in the air was blinking. The time remaining before the scenario ended was 15 minutes. Nails flew from a blind spot and pierced my shoulder bone. No matter how calm my mind, no matter how much information I knew, I couldn't help my untrained body. The wild Kim Nam-woon's attacks were becoming increasingly faster. Left shoulder, right thigh, top of the head. I had to break the flow. I was barely avoiding the flying fingernails and kicked his legs. But the person lost all senses and wasn't hurt at all. I stepped back, hitting a broken steel frame. I couldn't hear the raging sound of the ichthyosaurs at the bottom of the pillars.
A few constellations are rejoicing in your adversity. The constellations have sponsored you 200 coins.
It was a steady accumulation of coins. Now I held 5,000 of them. It was a significant number of coins for the beginning.
Wow, you're quite good at surviving.
Now, will any constellations help this poor friend? It was the Dokja's merchant-like voice. I wanted to tear it apart.
Jeez, there's really nobody?
Of course. It'd be strange for a constellation to support me after what happened during the sponsor selection.
What did I say? You should have chosen well when you had the chance. How pitiful.
Kim Nam-woon attacked me again and again and again, resulting in damage to my waist. Of course, I also injured Kim Nam-woon's left side with a knife. Thanks to that, his stomach was hanging out like a skipping rope. In order to kill a demonic person, I had to completely destroy the heart. But the skin of a demonic person was the hardest near the heart. The Swiss knife wasn't able to pierce it with sharpness alone. Damn it, if it wouldn't be so hard if I just had one combat skill.
The exclusive skill, Bookmark, is activated.
Bookmark?
Character Bookmarks is activated. Available bookmark slots. 3. Bringing up the list of available bookmarks. People listed in the bookmark slots. The Delusion Demon Kim Nam-woon. Understanding 25. Steel Sword Lee Hyun-sung. Understanding 35. Empty slot.
Bookmark. I've read over 3,000 chapters of Ways of Survival, and I have never seen this skill name before. But I intuitively knew how to use it. Activate bookmark number 1. There was the feeling of pages turning in my head. It was the scenes of Kim Nam-woon in Ways of Destruction.
I'm full of strength! Die, 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 die! A new world requires new laws.
Kim Nam-woon's memories crowded in, and all of my muscle nerves started to tense up. The power of another person was spiking within me.
The number 1 bookmark has been activated. The level of the bookmark skill is low, shortening the activation time. Activation time, 1 minute.
1 minute. That was enough.
Your understanding of the character is low, so only a part of the character's skill is activated. Blackening level 1 has been activated.
Kim Na-woon was breathing roughly as he rushed towards me. His body was covered with black energy that was threatening me. I firmly placed strength on my heels of my feet and rushed towards Kim Na-woon. If we had the same skill, I absolutely wouldn't lose. At this moment, I really was Kim Na-woon. I was the crazy killer who ruled the world of Ways of Survival with the protagonist. In a situation where blackening was properly played, the delusion demon of the battlefield couldn't be easily beaten. Kack! The Swiss knife cut through uncomfortable sensations. It tore through muscle and flesh. From the upper left arm to the heart, it was the sound of a whole human being cut up as Kim Na-woon staggered. If he still had his eyes, he'd be glaring at me right now. The young man who felt pessimistic towards the world and dreamt of breaking away from it. If Ways of Survival hadn't started, he might have gone to university after sitting his CSAT and enjoyed campus life. Don't want to die. I watched Kim Na-woon falling down the bridge without saying farewell. Despite him being a hated figure, I couldn't help but feel a strange emotion.
Your understanding of the character Kim Na-woon has increased. The number 1 bookmark has been disabled.
A surge of fatigue overcame me as the power went away. It was hard. Really. There were 10 minutes remaining. There were still many demonic people moving about. It was unreasonable to take on so many, even with level 10 stamina. But from the beginning, I had no intention of taking care of them alone. It was a little late, and he should appear around now. There was a crackling sound like he'd been waiting. I knew it. I thought he'd do reckless things in order to gain achievements and donations. Crunch. It was obviously the sound of a person's flesh colliding with another body, but it sounded more like a mace crushing flesh. In fact, I'd collected this much coins and thought it would be worth challenging the protagonist. But now I realized how mistaken I was. From the stationary train, the demonic people were thrown away in a straight line, as if a tank had rushed through. Was this really a scene caused by a human? The headless demonic people realized that something was strange and started turning around. However, it was too late. The man destroyed all of the demonic people threatening me and appeared in front of me. An overwhelming force without any weapons. He beat the demonic people with only 2 fists. I had prepared my mind in advance, but sweat still flowed down my back. Dealing with this guy was absolutely impossible. I couldn't win even if my overall stats rose by more than double what they are now. You. Who are you? The man's cool gaze turned towards me. I reflexively turned on Character List in order to overcome the fear.
The exclusive skill, Character List, is activated. There is too much information about this person. Character List is converted to Summary List. Character Summary. Name, JUNGHYUK. Attribute, Regressor, 3rd turn. Myth, Pro Gamer, Rare. Exclusive skills, Sage Eyes, level 8. Hand-to-hand combat, level 8. Weapons training, level 8. Mental barrier, level 5. Crowd control, level 5. Reasoning, level 5. Lie detection, level 4. The list of exclusive skills continued endlessly. Before I could get to the end of the list,
A rugged hand appeared and grabbed my neck. You! How the hell are you alive? The first way to survive in a ruined world. The one who proved that method was right in front of me. Regressor JUNGHYUK. The grand tragedy of this world began with this person. Chapter 10, Episode 2, Protagonist, Part 5. It'd be quite a ludicrous sight if anyone else saw it. A large adult man was being grabbed by the neck and hanging like a monkey. I could see Lee Hyun-sung looking this way from across the bridge. His expression was anxious, but he couldn't actually see what was going on here. It was due to the safety ward. I could see over there, but they couldn't see here. Name. What? What is your name? Look at the different way of talking, just like a main character. It wasn't good to provoke him here.
Kim Dokja.
Strange name.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot.
At this moment, my stomach sank in and turned inside out as Lee Jong-hyuk's fist hit it. Despite having skin that a knife bounced off of, the attack was very painful. You have a solid body. Have you already mastered the use of coins?
Yeah, it's the same with you.
Bam! There was a hit to my stomach again. I barely managed to swallow back another groan. This guy, the level of his strength was at least 15. It was at the scale despite only one main and one sub-scenario occurring. Indeed, natural born monsters were different. Stop the unnecessary answer. Only answer what I ask from now on. Understood? I didn't answer. I thought maybe this might happen. However, this was the worst situation that I had desperately hoped would never happen. In the beginning, Yu Jung-hyuk was more intimidating than any other figure. His personality had worn out after going through regression 3 times. His principles were cut away in order to maintain his sense of self. The current Yu Jung-hyuk would never hesitate for the sake of his purpose. Your answer?
I will.
Use honorifics.
What if I don't want to?
This time, I raised both hands to block the fist. The pain felt like my bones had broken from the shock, but the shock was dissipated. Yu Jung-hyuk's eyes widened, but he looked a bit surprised.
The character Yu Jung-hyuk is on guard against you.
Then it didn't matter. It wasn't going to be a punching bag just because he was the main character.
I'm sorry, but you're younger than me, pro gamer Yu Jung-hyuk, see? Therefore, you should be the one using honorifics.
You know me?
I know. I'm the employee of a game company.
It was a lie. Even if I worked for a game company, it was impossible to memorize the names of all professional gamers. In addition, until recently, Yu Jung-hyuk was just a character in a novel.
You're famous. At one time, I was a fan.
Being famous was just a setting of the plot. However, it wasn't a lie that I was a fan. I liked, hated, grumbled, and cheered Yu Jung-hyuk on. That's why I stuck with Yu Jung-hyuk for over 3,000 chapters. Fan. I haven't heard that in a long time. Yu Jung-hyuk had a look of nostalgia in his eyes, like he was locked in his memories. However, it was only for a moment. I'll forgive your impudence this time, but your situation hasn't changed.
I can see that.
I looked down at my 2 legs swaying over the blank space. I have only one thing I want to ask.
Ask.
How did you survive on the subway? It was the question I'd expected.
Will you spare me if I answer?
I'll see. It was a lie. I could tell just by looking at his face. I was the only reader of Ways of Survival. Numerous possible repertoires were simulated in my head. What could I say to convince this damn regressor?
Your understanding of the character Yu Jung-hyuk is increasing. Your understanding of this person is already very high. Huh? The conditions of use for the exclusive skill Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint Stage 2 has been reached. Do you want to activate the exclusive skill?
Then after a moment, I was able to read someone's thoughts like a waterfall in my head.
Only Lee Hyun-sung and Kim Na-moon should have survived in that carriage. Yet Kim Na-moon died and the others survived? How did you survive? Who the hell is this guy? Dig up information if I find any disturbing elements. Kill.
A dense flicker of thoughts. It was obviously a crisis situation, but I couldn't prevent the corners from my mouth from going up. The time remaining until the end of scenario was 5 minutes. I started the story. I told the story using as much concise, short, and accurate vocabulary as possible. It was from the first moment the Dokja appeared in the subway to the end of the first scenario. Of course, I did exclude the skills I got and any important issues.
You cleared the scenario by killing insects? We were lucky.
JUNGHYUK was so surprised he seemed to have forgotten that his mouth was open. The future has completely changed. He was shocked. Originally, the people in carriage 3807 would kill each other in a battle royale, with only Lee Hyun-sung and Kim Na-moon surviving.
You have keen eyes. How did you know there were insects in the carriage?
Killing intent filled JUNGHYUK's eyes as the thoughts brushed through my head.
Is this guy also an aggressor? So I have to kill him right now.
A person who commits a fault thinks that everyone speaks of it. I wasn't surprised that he misunderstood me. I quickly opened my mouth.
An explosion! Explosion? I was able to find an insect due to an explosion of the carriage in front.
JUNGHYUK's body stopped at these words.
Explain it in a simpler manner. When the explosion occurred, a kid fell and dropped his insect collecting net. I picked it up by chance.
It's a suspicious coincidence.
Coincidences are always suspicious. If you don't believe me, ask the people beyond the ward. The boy standing there dropped the net.
Beyond the safety barrier on the way to Oksu Station, people were looking over at this side. The scenario wasn't over yet, so they couldn't approach or talk to us. JUNGHYUK looked over but showed no signs of moving. His eyes changed and memories that seemed to belong to JUNGHYUK crossed my mind.
I see. Explosion? This guy isn't a regressor. He isn't the one who changed the future. Rather, the future changed because of me.
I saw people dying painfully in a powerful explosion, and JUNGHYUK blankly watched it.
It is because I started killing them, unlike the other turns.
Due to the impact of Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, I could feel JUNGHYUK's mental pain and suffering.
Are your questions over?
Yes.
Then can you let me go? And let's go to Oksu together. There isn't much time remaining to clear the scenario.
It is difficult. However, a protagonist was a protagonist for a reason.
Everything you said makes perfect sense.
I have never seen a protagonist as careful as JUNGHYUK.
A beginner can't be so calm. He's abnormally well adjusted to this changed world, and he probably killed Kim Na-moon. He has gone beyond being useful to being dangerous.
JUNGHYUK's right eye started shining with a gold color. I quickly realized what he was doing. In fact, it'd be weird if this guy didn't use that. Sage's Eye. JUNGHYUK's strongest detection skill. Sage's Eye was the SS grade skill that showed the target's attribute window as well as hidden information. As long as he used it, I couldn't avoid revealing my identity. On the other hand, I thought it was a good thing. I still didn't know my attribute and skills. If JUNGHYUK discovered my information, I'd also be able to know what myself. And hopefully, I'd be able to use the information I'd learned to escape the situation.
The exclusive skill Fourth Wall is activated. Fourth Wall has detected the use of the detection skill Sage's Eye.
Sparks flew in the air and JUNGHYUK's body staggered.
What?
JUNGHYUK covered his right eye and watched me with confusion.
What is your identity?
I'm sorry, but I'm wondering the same thing.
The exclusive skill, Fourth Wall, has blocked Sage's eyes.
I didn't know I had a skill that defend against Sage's eye. After bookmark, it was fourth wall. This complicated things. JUNGHYUK wouldn't believe me now. I must kill him here. He was a person who didn't trust what he didn't know. JUNGHYUK. Then I also needed to change plans.
You need a reliable companion.
What do you mean?
You can't break through the 46th scenario alone. Shouldn't you be well aware of it?
JUNGHYUK's eyes narrowed. How do you know this? Perhaps you...
It doesn't matter how I am.
I stared straight into JUNGHYUK's eyes and said,
The important thing is that I can help you.
He isn't a regressor. If he was a regressor, I wouldn't be unaware of him. And who is this person? Perhaps... If I couldn't hide my hand, and if I didn't possess the best hand, then there was only one way out. It was to show a hand that would make the other person misunderstand.
JUNGHYUK, I know the future that you don't know.
The character JUNGHYUK has used the lie detection skill.
Lie detection has confirmed that your words are the truth.
JUNGHYUK's eyes slowly widened.
How? How else?
No way. There was a prophet other than Anna Croft? This is also in South Korea? Prophet. In Ways of Survival, it was the only attribute that could see the future and had the passive of nullifying all detection skills. In fact, only one person had the attribute of prophet in the world of Ways of Survival. Only a prophet can defend against my sage's eyes. I didn't answer, and JUNGHYUK bit his lips. Can you perhaps use feature sight?
It is something similar.
You knew I would come here.
Yes.
I see. If this man is a prophet, all of his actions are convincing. The flow was changing. JUNGHYUK's fluctuation was conveyed straight away. This was the only chance.
I know that JUNGHYUK has special powers. You also know things about the future. Isn't that right? But that knowledge is never perfect.
The only weakness of a regressor? It meant that the future changed when they used their information of the future. In other words, all those who regressed would eventually live in a world they don't know.
Make me your companion. I can fill in the parts you're missing.
There were no companions as good as a prophet to the present JUNGHYUK. In fact, my present self could play a role similar to that of the prophet. And it was because I was the only reader of this story.
There is 1 minute to the end of the scenario.
JUNGHYUK bowed his head and started to think. The prophet would certainly be helpful.
There are 50 seconds left to complete the scenario.
Not just the 46 scenario, but later when fighting the Chalatustra. But can I really believe him?
There are 40 seconds left to the end of the scenario.
Companion. Finally, JUNGHYUK raised his head as I stared at the clock with an irritated heart. I have decided. I'll make you my companion.
Excessive immersion has severely worn out your mental strength. Exclusive skill, Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, has been turned off.
I wasn't sure if it was due to fatigue or relief, but the exclusive skill was released. Now JUNGHYUK's face was as difficult as a philosophy book with no commentary written. JUNGHYUK started to take me across the bridge. Of course, I was still held by the collar, but I thought things would be alright now. I persuaded this damn regressor and was in a good position. We'd almost crossed the even bridge and were right in front of the safe area when JUNGHYUK suddenly stopped. I will ask you one last thing.
What?
If you really are a prophet, you should know your future.
Isn't that right? The moment I saw Yu Jung-hyuk's serene eyes, goosebumps broke out. His test wasn't over yet, and the grip holding my collar tightened. His hand raised me up a little bit, and a gentle wind passed by my feet. Underneath me was completely empty. The smell of blood mixed in with the smell of Han River as the ichthyosaurs jumped up towards their prey with open mouths. Will I let go of this hand, or won't I? For the first time, I started sweating. Let me think. Even without his thoughts, I knew this guy more than anyone else. I closed my eyes and thought about Yu Jung-hyuk.
There are 20 seconds left to the end of the scenario.
Then I came to a conclusion.
Yu Jung-hyuk.
I was certain about what he'd do. No matter how I thought about it, there was no other ending when it came to Yu Jung-hyuk. I talked as I watched the sea commander approaching in the water.
I will tell you 2 things first.
What?
1, I'm not your subordinate, so I hope you'll treat me fairly from now on. And 2, I will cooperate with you, but you also have to promise to cooperate with me.
Yu Jung-hyuk looked at me with interest and nodded. Well, what's your answer?
I replied with a smile. Get your hand off me and get lost, you damn jerk.
Then the power holding me disappeared, and I was grabbed by the force of gravity. I saw Yu Jung-hyuk's face as I was falling. Yu Jung-hyuk was smiling brightly like something had made him happy. Son of a bitch. I believe you. You're definitely a prophet. Waiting for me at my crash point was the mouth of the giant sea commander. I closed my eyes from the shock of the impact along with the cold water of Han River, and as I sucked in a breath, a warm and enormous darkness swallowed me up.
You have failed to clear the scenario.
Damn. I have to use that method after all.
End of episode 2. Protagonist. Thank you very much for joining me for this next installment of Omniscient Reader's Viewpoint, and I look forward to seeing you next time with episode 3, Contract. Bye-bye!